What's going on YouTube? Modeling that back at you. For today I have the reveal video for my 1/48 scale Airfix P-40B Warhawk. Kit number for this one is A05130, and picked it up from Hobby Lobby, I believe for about $25, again with the 40% off that they offer. Came out to be, about 18 bucks, something like that. Overall, for the price, you definitely cannot beat it for a 48 scale kit. Detail wise, the interior looks really good for what you can see. Again, went ahead and did a closed canopy just for keeping dust out, things like that. Overall, like the build, there are a few things that I'm not a fan of with this kit, and hence the reason I didn't really go to town making sure it was like uber perfect or anything like that. One of the things that I noticed with the kit is the rear trailing edge of the wings are extremely thick. So if you're going to make it look more realistic and things like that, you're going to want to spend the time to thin those out. The other thing that was just kind of a bit of an annoyance was once I got the two halves of the fuselage together and things like that, there was definitely a pretty nasty gap that I had to fill between that and the wings themselves. Overall, though, again, pretty happy with how the build came out. For the paints that I used Mr. Color number 12 and number 13, primarily for the gray and green scheme that would have been, early war, things like that. One thing I love about this is it has the silver front to the propellers, but then the flat black on the back side. Overall, kept the weathering pretty much non-existent on this one. My thought was this would have been, or it depicts the aircraft that was at Pearl Harbor in December of 1941. And with that, I mean, it would have been a fairly fresh bird. She wouldn't have had much time in the air, maybe, maybe a few hundred hours at most, just training flights, stuff like that. They would have probably kept up a lot more than what you would have seen, late war, even the first couple of years of the war. So about the only weathering that I did was just a little bit of exhaust staining, which you can see just kind of running out of the stacks. For that, first time using these products, and actually love the way that it came out. Took a minute to get used to. Aptylung 502. I use their smoke color. That one is ABT005. And then for the gray, because again, fuel back then, leaded fuel, which gives a bit of a grayish hue to it. I used Master Touch Cold Gray. To be honest, I really like the Master Touch. Seeing that it's the same price as the Aptylung, you get a lot more paint, and then with just a cheap generic, low odor thinner, thinned out really great, blended really nice. It didn't, it wasn't too heavy or weird pigment, size or anything like that. So definitely would suggest that. The antennas on this, kind of the first time I've had the chance to really use this material. It is 40 denier fly fishing wire, or fly fishing string. So got that out of a fly fishing company off of eBay. And again, I think really fits the part. It does have a nice little spring to it, so it's not, a very rigid wire. So if you're looking for any sort of antenna line or rigging for shipping, stuff like that, it's definitely a heck of a lot cheaper than some of the other products that are specific for modelers. I think the reels, which are 100-yard reels, are less than, I'd say like $5-6, something like that. And if you get multiple things at the same time, obviously combine shipping and stuff like that. So definitely check that out if you're looking for something or just interested in a different product. Again, on the weathering front, did add a little bit of just the lines coming out of the gun ports on the underside. Again, keeping it very, very minimal. Maybe a few hundred rounds had been through the aircraft as she was sitting on the flight line in December of 41. Hadn't really been used and abused like the aircrafts would have been later in the war. So, like I said, overall, happy with the build. Looks pretty good for a Warhawk, stuff like that. Again, there is a little bit of stuff around the canopy. I had used my favorite product, the Plastrect Bonding, which is the white label. This stuff works fairly well with the clear parts, but it does still fog it up just a tiny bit. Definitely not as much as like what you get with super glue, things like that. But I would say for this aircraft specifically, if I was to build it over again, or if I was recommending to somebody, I would definitely say use like a PVA glue, especially on these back windows and then the front canopy, because there's not really a trim line that would run around like a normal canopy would have. So, yeah. Well, hope you guys have enjoyed me waffling on about the build. Hopefully you guys found or learned a couple of tips or something like that you might be able to use in your own builds. Next one that I'm going to be starting on after this is going to be a 1 to 700 scale ship. Have a bunch of ships and things like that, and that's kind of the one genre I've not tackled yet on my channel. So wanted to really jump in and dive into that. It's the 1 to 700 scale USS Lexington CVO2 from May of 1942, so right before she was sunk. It'll start my collection of aircraft carriers that I have, which basically now will span from pre-war with the Saratoga all the way through to the conclusion of the war with a USS Hancock kit that I have. So if you have any questions or comments, definitely feel free to post them down below, and I will answer them as quickly as I can. Catch you guys in the next one.